Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to today's unbelievably hot off the presses episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL. And man, I'm telling you, if you guys and gals could have been a fly on the wall, we were going to town back and forth talking about topics that weren't even written in today's show that I spent a lot of time putting together, and the conversation was so GD interesting that we are going to impromptu open the show with it. But before I actually do that, I need to introduce my outstanding panel, my brothers who have made this particular show not only my personal favorite each and every week, but one that I really look forward to simply because the connection that we all have with each other seems to be beyond just some guys hanging out talking about video games. And I absolutely love that we have this relationship. So let's get into the introductions. Now, you know him as being not only a part-time chef, full-time awesome community member, but also one of the bravest gamers who is ready to dive deep into the next VR horror title that you have ready for him to play. Please welcome Zemi Games.
I love how you mention like the horror game every single time. It's great. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Once again, highlight of my week. Truly it is. Get to, come on here, talk to all you amazing people about Xbox. And it's just always fun. So boom, thank you so much.
Dude, listen, having you a part of the show each and every week has been a treat. It has been an absolute honor to work with you. And I actually can't forget the time where obviously if you know Zemi, he was a regular on Breakfast with Boom. Now he guests every now and again, but he reached out to me privately and said, listen, I'm a big Xbox fan. It's where I lay my head down on the pillow at night, and I would love to be a part of your show. Instantly he was added. And I got to tell you, it's been one of the best moves we've had for this particular program, because obviously he's passionate. He's very receptive to the community. And, at the end of the day, he is a big Xbox fan, and that's who you want on an Xbox show. So, of course, Zemi, thank you for being here. Next up, our resident teacher. But besides being an educator, besides being the cool teacher I wish I had growing up, he is becoming one not only of the community's absolute finest, but his podcasting skills and the content he's bringing to you, the community, each and every week has elevated in a way that I am so proud to help him push his brand forward. You know him as Insipid Ghost.
What's up, Boom? So nice to be back. I missed you guys last week, but I'm so happy to be here talking Xbox. Tons of great topics to talk about today. I'm installing No Man's Sky on Game Pass as we speak.
Nice.
It's a good day for gamers, man. I'm stoked. Let's do this.
Yes, well, it's great to have you here, and I have to do that because I'm not sure how many people. I haven't tweeted about No Man's Sky in quite some time. I put, believe it or not, in its bare bones version, well over 60 hours into that game. I not only have the collector's edition for the PlayStation 4, but I went out and purchased the collector's edition for PC because it came with a replica ship.
I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, and I'll actually send pictures in the DM. It's very nice. It actually looks like the old school Battlestar Galactica chips.
I'm doing a thing right now where I'm building out my game room with statues. I just got the God of War statue after finishing that one. I got my Halo statues. I'm stoked for the collector's editions coming up. So now I'm looking at all these statues. The Amalur one, I got that one.
Yes.
So having that ship is that's making me see, you already got me on eBay twice in the past 2 weeks. Don't do it to me again, brother.
Yes, it's funny. Luke and I were talking about he had made mention that he didn't get he missed out on the Crackdown 3 special tin case that Best Buy had, and I went looking for it and I found it for $9. So I sent it to him, and guess what? I bought one too. As a matter of fact, I've been playing Crackdown 3 all morning because once again I have the itch to collect all those orbs, and it's funny. I'm one find away from completing a 40-point achievement, and I beat the game. It says 99%. I cannot find the last bad guy to whether it's something to destroy. I've been looking all morning, but I've been collecting orbs, and you know what? That's fine. But let's continue on with, of course, the introductions. Next up, you know him as someone that has become a community favorite. He is on 2 programs weekly with me. He's a PlayStation representative, but in the best possible way. He has an amazing show called The Trophy Room, and he does a good Texas accent. Please welcome Mr. Bad Bits.
The PlayStation delegation has allowed me, after a lot of delegation, to allow me onto the Xbox Factor podcast to represent the greatest brand that is and whatever will be PlayStation. So I'm glad to be here. Shout out to the PlayStation delegation. I have to give them at least 3 plugs during the show, or they will have my head. That's what they said. That's what your mind whispered in my ear.
Well, obviously, you just plug away because
the leader's name.
We want you back, so you keep plugging the PlayStation Nation. It's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, we are all gamers, regardless of what brand and flag that you fly. And last up, he has been a recent addition, thanks to everyone being stuck at home. And it's been one of the best additions we've made to the program. He's all the way from Germany. His podcasting skills seem to be on the rise. And I'm very proud to say, once again, that if you see him here, it's because he's a good dude. Please welcome Archimedes.
What's up, Boom? Hello, everyone. Man, I'm having the best day. Today is a national holiday in Germany, so I didn't have to work. Got to spend the whole day with my kids, and now I'm in the podcast with my brothers from the other side of the world. And later we get the PlayStation event. It's just the best day, and we have some awesome topics. So let's do this.
You know what? Let's get into the impromptu of the program. Something that we normally don't do because obviously I enjoy structure and it makes the show flow. But every now and again, we'll get into a conversation that we'll talk about something in the pregame that just everyone gravitates to, grabs onto it, and really we just didn't get a chance to finish our point. So I figured, what the H? Let's do this live. And you know what? As for a second before we get into that particular topic, I have to thank once again Sin Vendetta, a good friend of the show. In fact, he is quite generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: Mr. Bedbit, it's here. Today is the day we get Bloodborne 2 announcement. He says, Pish, I wish. You know what? You're going to get a Bloodborne announcement. It may not be 2, but could you imagine playing that game in 4K 60? I can, even though I suck at it. And I think that's one of the announcements you're going to get later on today. But you know what? Rolling right into that, segueing perfectly right into that point. Tonight is the PlayStation event. It's going to be happening at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, and I think 9 p.m. Ground Mountain Time, I think it is. I'm not sure, but it's going to be a big event. And I'm hearing, and I think we're all hearing, that it's going to be huge. And good on Sony. Good on, if you are a fan like myself that support multiple brands, having a good Sony show is a win for you. If Sony isn't your brand, listen, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I say, okay, that's perfectly okay. But when one company does good, it pushes the other company to be better. And we can actually, whether you want to admit this publicly, privately, or write it in your diary is fine. The reason why Microsoft is as bullish as they've been, as having the more powerful console, having the best services, pushing all of these new and different things for next generation, potentially launching 2 SKUs, trying to wait out Sony on price. It's because Sony kicked their teeth in this generation. And, again, I want to equate this. And if you're an old bastard like myself, you'll remember this when you read comic books back in the days. At the back panel, there would be that little comic, right, where it's the bully kicking the sand in the face of the nerd kid, right? And then the summer goes by, and the little kid is tired of getting the sand kicked in his face. And what does he do? He starts working out. He comes back the following couple of months, and he's all jacked up. And now he's kicking sand. And that's what happened to Microsoft. And if you're old like me, you understand what I'm talking about. If not, you think I'm a lunatic, and that's fine. But let's get into the conversation. Now, with Sony's event, plan to be big. And I don't doubt it's going to be huge. I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight because I'm doing a special edition episode of the PlayStation 5 post show. I've been talking about it all week on my Twitter account. Tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Joe is going to be a part of that panel, and we're going to have quite a few others, which are going to be really going to make the show a lot of fun. But I want to go to Zemi first. Now, talking about Sony, we have to immediately switch the lazy Susan over to, of course, the Xbox side, and because this is an Xbox program. And what we were all discussing, in the pregame, is there are a lot of things to like about Sony going first. Quite frankly, and one of the biggest criticisms I've always had with Microsoft is Microsoft was, again, bullish about being the first one at E3 to talk about their wares. And when the show didn't go well, it was a lasting conversation that basically lasted the entire E3. And Sony, 10 out of 10 times, not 5 out of 10, not 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times, pivoted. And they did what they did best, and their marketing strong arm really flexed and showed what they were about, and they always countered everything Microsoft did. Now, Microsoft has been, again, bullish about wanting to let Sony do their thing. And Sony is going first, and they're probably going to have an amazing show. But with that said, this gives Microsoft over a month to make this next show, which is going to showcase all of their first-party games that we've all been asking for, the Fables, the Perfect Darks, the Halos, the new Forza, and the new Obsidian game, which we have pictures of in-game engine artwork from the game they're working on. We'll talk about that next. People, it's going to melt your eyeballs. Zemi, what opportunity does Microsoft and Phil Spencer have to really lay that pipe down come July?
Well, I mean, it definitely helps them, of course. And I do want to say this first. Like, I hope that this PlayStation show is absolutely amazing. I'm definitely going to be watching it, and I'm rooting for Sony. As much as I'm rooting for Xbox, because, like you said, whenever there's competition, the companies fight for our money, and then at the end of the day, we as consumers, as gamers, we win. So I'm really rooting for both of them. But to shift it back over to Xbox, I mean, it definitely gives them a great opportunity to see what Sony's doing and maybe make some changes to their show that they previously wouldn't have, to make their show that much better. 2013 was a great what was a great, I guess, version of this to show how important going, second really is. Sony got a ton of great press during that 2013 E3 show after Xbox came out and dropped the ball. And I don't think something like that is going to happen, in 2020, whenever both these companies come out and show their cards. But it's never a bad thing for Xbox to run second. Just kind of ignoring the July event, Zimi, what you're talking about, you ignore the July event. I'm actually really interested to see what Xbox comes out with directly after PlayStation shows, what they show today, because we've seen it happen, time and time again, that, the last time PlayStation, I think released some really big news was whenever I don't even remember his name. He got on stage and he was talking about the PlayStation specs. Xbox came out and I believe showed like the CPU or something. So yes. I'm really, really interested to see what exactly Microsoft or Xbox does directly after PlayStation's show today, or what they do tomorrow, or maybe in a week from now.
You know what? That dude, let me tell you something. I don't think you could have spoken better words. And I want to bring Luke in on the conversation. Luke, I want you to answer the question I first asked, but I want you to elaborate on exactly what Zemi just finished saying, because as important as the July show is, it's the counterpunch that Microsoft needs to do. I'm not saying literally during the show come out with something, or even tomorrow, but they need to maybe potentially come out early next week with something groundbreaking. We know that there was a scheduled June event. We know that there's been some talk from different people that event been pushed. But I saw something on Twitter, and I want to get your opinion on this. A lot of people are suggesting that Microsoft cannot let Sony go unchecked with an incredible show, that they need to do something, even if it's small, but they need to do something. What is your opinion on that?
Well, the counterpunch is the key right now to a lot of the conversation. Our culture at the moment is fascinated by the clapback, and it's the clapback that tends to get the most views. And for sure, Sony mastered this in 2013 when, this is how you share games. Like that was one of the most brilliant clapbacks and really set an extra narrative going on outside of just the standard, our box does this, our box does that. And so that's a really important term. When you look at the E3s in the past, I would argue 3 years, Xbox, in my opinion, has won those E3s, and it hasn't paid dividends for them. So they went and launched their messaging at the Game Awards, and whereas you were saying right now, Xbox has a month to respond, more or less. Sony had more than 6 months to prep for this show that they are doing. They've had to adjust along the way. There's no doubt about that. The clapback approach is one that we're seeing even as recently as last month, when they showed the DualSense controller ahead of the day before inside Xbox by design. Yesterday we get an article out on the Xbox Wire by design from Xbox, ahead of this discussion, talking about why they're going with the route they're going. It's the punch counterpunch that sets a narrative outside of just the box and the games, and that's important. It does matter. Microsoft will see what Sony does today. They probably realistically have a good idea of several things. They will see that, evaluate it, and I would imagine make some minor adjustments to whatever it is they're doing in July. I would argue the framework's probably locked in for the most part. That the idea that they have an entire separate Plan B show, from what I've heard, doesn't actually happen in the same way that we would think it does, but little things can be Legoed in and out. But that clapback is a powerful one. They are going to be under tremendous pressure because they are on the back foot. They've been on the offensive for so long. Now they will be, putting their guard up, playing defense. They do need to respond well. And right now, the only thing that we truly know they are going to come back with is Halo Infinite.
Yes.
And if you count it in this argument, backward compatibility and forward compatibility as narratives. And Archimedes did a great video on that yesterday. But those are the two things we know. So this punch and counterpunch is fantastic because it's great for us. If Sony sees this stuff that Microsoft's doing and they take on some of those initiatives, adjust their backup strategy, great for gamers. If Microsoft says, yo, we don't have good IP that can go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, we're going to make them. We're going to buy them. We're going to make them. We're going to get it out there. Those responses are great for Xbox gamers. This is all good news, and I love watching the punch counterpunch.
Yeah, it is like watching a prize fight. Obviously you may not like, for me, I don't necessarily have a dog in the race because I want both companies to do good because I'm buying both consoles the day that I'm able to get my hands on them. Some people are not. Yeah, some people are not. Some people are going to, for a lot of reasons. Financially being one of them, may only be able to get one console because, quite frankly, they're going to be $500 a piece at minimum. And we saw something that popped up on the social media feeds yesterday about the PlayStation 5 being $600 in the UK, which would equate it to being $7 and change in US money, which is ridiculous.
But now, that was the 2 terabyte version.
Yeah, that was the 2 terabyte version. Yes. So I mean, we've already heard that there's going to be 2 SKUs, like when the PlayStation 3 was launched in 2006. Where it had the 60 gig, which was $5.99, and they had, of course, the 20 gig, which was $4.99. I went with the bigger hard drive, which I will do again if that in fact is the case. And there is a more expensive PlayStation 5. I will be getting that, and I'll just have to add $100 to the money I already have put away, and that's going to be fine because I'd rather have the additional storage. But keeping the talk with Xbox, let's bring in Mr. Badbit. Now, Mr. Badbit, obviously, as someone who represents the PlayStation Nation in the best way possible, someone that has an amazing program through the trophy room, there is no doubt that your excitement is through the roof. As a matter of fact, I believe you've lost sleep over the excitement. It's basically Christmas morning in the afternoon for PlayStation gamers, and that is awesome.
Yeah, man. If you're hearing me yawn, it is literally because like I've had like maybe 5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, listen, well, we definitely appreciate you being here, and and it's going to be another long night. But with that said, we know what your expectations are for Sony. We know that you are expecting this, that, and the third. The question for the topic that originally, again, impromptu for the start of the program was, how does Microsoft, how does the new improved marketing team and Phil Spencer respond to a AAA show that Sony is expected to put on? And I want to hear your counterpunch and your July prediction. How big does it have to be?
Well, first I have to read this scroll the PlayStation delegation has given me.
Yeah, please, by all means, read it.
It says, let me just get it. Let me just get it open. Okay, there it is. It says Xbox sucks with an X. PlayStation rules with
a Z?
3 O's, 1 L and a Z. Yes. No, real response. This is the thing that gets me excited. This is the dance I like to see, y'all. Like, this is, we saw it with PlayStation earlier this week when everybody was freaking out about why is it in 1080p 30 FPS. And then like even many people going, Xbox did it with Inside Xbox last month. You're going to continuously see this until both consoles are out in the wild. PlayStation has done a good job of setting expectations for this console in terms of how they're rolling out this event, right? They tell you it's going to be big, it's going to be over an hour long, but at the same exact time tell you, hey, listen, stream isn't in 4K, it's going to be 1080 30 FPS, because they saw with the Inside Xbox that was a lot of people's concern of like, oh, these games looked great, but it didn't look great. So it's cool that they've seen that and they've refined the message a little bit, similar to what Luke said, right? It's more about when you're putting on something PR or marketing wise, a lot of it's set in stone, and a lot of people fail to kind of grasp at this, is that both Microsoft and PlayStation, both Xbox and PlayStation know almost exactly what these consoles are capable of. Like at least a year in advance. Understand they're using the same architecture. It's literally the only thing that's really the big difference here is the emblem on the piece of plastic you're buying. So like at the end of the day, they know what they have. So they've already set the message that they want and the tone that they want. And there are going to be little things that they're able to remove, but they can't just take out the whole engine and replace it with a new one, right?
Right.
So what I hope Microsoft sees is what PlayStation, for me as a PlayStation gamer, has done right so far, which is just show me the games, let the developers talk, have that presentation be about the developers and not so much, fake excitement from a disembodied voice. Let me see the actual dev talk about the game that they're making. So for me, if the July event, because there is no event this month, whether it was real or not, it looks like it's going to be, Xbox is definitely waiting to see whatever the price of the PS5 is to drop that hardware reveal. But whatever the case may be, July, Xbox will know what made that event great or what made that event flawed.
Yes.
And so they will know what they have and they will be able to message it accordingly. Because again,
we saw Sony do that when they looked at the Inside Xbox and then they made that state of play that was just that nailed it in pacing, I thought.
Exactly. And so like we already have these, again, if I'm like in the mind of Xbox, they already have all the assets. They already know exactly what's being shown, and developers are working on the demos and voiceovers right now on those things you're going to see in July. So I don't think much is going to be moved. It's just how they message that event that's going to excite me. Because like what we said before we went live here is, you know, for a while ago, it was like, hey, we're going to talk about Halo at this event. This is a Halo event. And who knows, like it could be literally just like, here's Halo, here's Fable, here's the 2 games we're talking about, here's the 2 big launch titles you're going to see. If that's the case, yeah, give me the creative director of Halo Infinite. Talk to me about the single player. Show me an awesome cut of the Master Chief doing something badass, or just walking down a hallway, because you know what, the Master Chief is badass doing anything. And you know, talk about what sets this game apart from other Halos. Take Fable and go, hey, this is what we learned, what makes Fable great, and we're implementing it into this game. Here's how big the world is. Here's how we're going to tackle load screens. Here's how we're going to tackle this big open world. And just give me the step by step. More importantly than that, though, Microsoft is in the first time in a very long time in not reaction mode, but they are going second. And I think that gives them and Luke Stahl enough time to goddamn turn off your mic, Luke. I'll slap the smile right out of your mouth. Okay, I love him.
It's thundering.
He's scared. No, but no, it gives Microsoft an ample amount of time to kind of look what they're doing and make sure that they have the best messaging. So I'm really excited to see, of course, what we're going to see today, but how Microsoft looks at that and goes, okay, here's what we're doing. Let's do the pros and cons list before we throw out what we're about to do to everyone out there. So again, I'm super excited. This is, I've said it over and over again. This is the time when you're a gamer. We're already seeing it. This is when the marketing kicks up, right? This is when the general audience gets to see what Microsoft and PlayStation have cooking. That's why you see, you know, PlayStation 5 commercials already, you know, advertising this one event. So it's awesome. It's a great time to be a gamer. I'm excited to see, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and before we bring in Archimedes to close out this impromptu topic, Sean Murray, a very generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: did anyone see the Dirt 5 developers 4K 120 frames per second Wired article? No load times on Xbox Series X. Actually, yes. As a matter of fact, a good friend of the show, Hassan Abuzyad, dropped a DM to me, and he sent me the video where they interviewed David Springate. He's the technical director for the upcoming driving title known as Dirt 5. And yes, that's right. It is going to not only run the best on the Series X, but it's going to be running at 4K 120 frames per second, which is ridiculous. And they had a lot to say. If you're interested, I'll drop it into Twitter after the show. It's definitely a must watch. And you know, speaking of a must watch, and I know it's completely off topic, but I really want to throw it out there. I posted a Killer Instinct documentary that they released a couple of days ago. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. I'm going to tell you this right. It is. It's one of the best video game vid docs I have personally ever seen. Talking about it right now has given me goosebumps. I've watched it twice, and you know what? I'm probably going to watch it again. I'm a huge Killer Instinct fan. I think everyone knows that. And it is a game that needs to come back. It's a game I hope that secretly Phil Spencer is kept in his back pocket, and we're going to be surprised like we were in 2013. I don't know, but I definitely will. Again, that's another vid doc I will post on Twitter once again. I want to get the word out there, and I want people to tell Phil we want KI to return. But you know what? Bringing it back to reeling this in before we go too far off the rails. Archimedes, you've had a lot to say about this particular topic with some of your videos, and of course being very vocal on social media. My question to you is, how do you expect Microsoft to respond to what is being deemed a AAA show for the PlayStation 5 later today?
Yeah, well, before I go into my points, I wanted to add something to the must-watch list. Mr. Badbit didn't advertise it, so I'll do it for him. He's going to stream later the event
Thank you so much.
live. Yeah, so I highly recommend that to tune in. I think it's going to be a fun thing to watch. So I'll definitely have it open on my second screen.
Thank you, man. I mean, that means a lot to me because I get very nervous when I stream. So it really,
You do a good job, dude. You're definitely your skills are there, and your passion. You definitely lead by example. So good on you. But Archimedes, again, you've had a lot to say, and I'm interested to know your point, because even though we might all agree, you have a different take on it.
Yeah. Well, first, I think we've heard a lot of good points, and the great thing about this whole way how Microsoft has already come out and advertised their new console is that we see this back and forth play now in between Sony and Microsoft, and the only ones that are benefiting from that are we gamers. It's just the great thing about a healthy competition in between Sony and Microsoft. And this is what we are seeing right now. I'm not talking about the toxic stuff on social media. I'm talking about the healthy competition that drives the industry forward. And this is really exciting. I think Microsoft already made the first step to a counter move. They published yesterday this Xbox Wire article. And if you just read the title, so it was something like what we have already introduced, ... so far. And so I'm thinking releasing such an article one day before Sony's big event is preparing us for some sort of counter news. What that will be, I don't know exactly, but we know that the June, well, a lot of people say event isn't actually an event in as it is a stream. Yeah, it is some sort of news dropping in some format. Yeah, it's not going to.
It might be a video, or it might be an Xbox Wire article.
Exactly.
That's what we're hearing.
Maybe they have figured. I don't know. Maybe they have figured out a way to give another hands-on for some influencers, like they did with Digital Foundry and Austin Evans. I don't know. It's definitely more complicated with the C virus situation at the moment, but maybe they have figured out something to do that. I don't know, but there is something coming in June. And putting this Wired article out one day before the big event, I just think that is preparing us for a big counter move. And I think, I mean, technically, we all, Boom, you said it, and a couple of others said it as well, that it's great that Sony comes out first. Technically, that's not true. Microsoft already had their first event.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, and this is actually the good thing here, because we had a lot of, criticism about the Microsoft event. Even though it was a great show per se, it was the way how they messaged it. It was that they didn't show gameplay, and probably the lack of one big AAA banger getting announced. And I think, like all of you said, Sony is very good in taking notes. And so I think they will definitely counter that today. They will show gameplay. They will have this one or two big AAA bangers that make your jaw drop to the floor. This is just how they are going to present it. And then Microsoft has the chance to take notes of that again. And in the end, I'll be getting both consoles day one, and I will be the one who benefits from this healthy competition. Yes. And it's just such an exciting time, like Mr. Badbit said it. This time where these big news usually drop, it's E3 week. Yeah, we have actually E3 week. This is just a Christmas for a gamer, and I can't wait to see the event tonight. I'm so hyped.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I'm going to bring up a particular point before we move on to the next topic that no one talked about, and I'm actually very surprised because everyone on this panel is very, very bright minds, and this is an advantage that I'm going to take this from an angle. I don't think anybody even in the chat saw this coming. Now, obviously, with the T virus situation, the world was put into literally a standstill. going back a couple of months ago. And yes, obviously it's still, the virus is still around. It's still causing havoc, but it's being controlled. And most states and most countries are starting to open up at least this particular country is opening up in phases, depending on your location and how many counts of the virus that particular location had. There, they had phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's throughout the entire country. What Microsoft has on their side is right now we are in the first quarter, or I guess you can say it's the first third of the month is gone. And of course, tonight is going to be Sony's big event. Now, when we say July, everyone is just readily assuming it's going to be the first week. Well, the first week of July is a holiday, even though we're not going to be in a holiday celebrating kind of mood. It's July 4th is a big holiday, so everyone is going to be off, and they're going to be, depending on where it falls, we're probably all going to be out doing whatever we're doing. So if Microsoft decides that week 2 in July is the day that they're going to go, this gives them an unbelievably unique advantage in the form of 4 to 5 weeks of preparation. And what do I mean by that? Well, by the time this July event is going to be potentially coming in mid-July, the world is going to have been somewhat reopened, meaning that Microsoft's employees at these studios are probably going to be back and in their offices. Yes, there's going to be precautions. Yes, it's going to be 6 feet. Yes, it's going to be wearing masks, but people are going to be able to work together, work using equipment in their offices. It would not surprise me that this gives them a tremendous edge over Sony's wares that they're going to put together. We understand it's 1080p. We understand it's 30 frames per second. We understand that they already put out a prerequisite sender saying that, hey, listen, the games are going to look much better on the PlayStation 5 once you get them, but this is what we're doing because of what's going on. Microsoft, again, having the advantage of waiting for their first party show, which is going to be mid-July, potentially. It gives them a distinct advantage because, quite frankly, they could put a vid doc together that will run in 4K 60, that will show off their first-party games and be produced the way you would expect an E3 presentation to be produced. And that is what I'm expecting. That is what the kind of marketing that they have with the new people running the show. And that's what I'm expecting in July. But again, this has been a great way to open up the program. Again, we don't normally do the impromptu kind of a topic, but because everyone was so passionate about it in the pregame, we just had to talk about it. And I hope everyone in the chat, nearly 300 folks are here watching. I hope you're enjoying it. But we're gonna move on to one of the bigger topics now. Depending on who you ask. The two first-party studios that Microsoft added to Xbox Game Studios in 2018 are considered by most to be the best of the best, end quote. And of course, I'm talking about Ninja Theory and Obsidian Entertainment. Now, we already know that Ninja Theory is hard at work on two major titles in the form of Hellblade 2, which was just confirmed to be running in Unreal Engine 5. I'm not sure how many people know that, but that has been confirmed by the Hellblade team officially that the Hellblade 2 will be done using Unreal Engine 5. Talking about it gets me goosebumps. And again, later on, once I'm able to procure some more information regarding what they're doing with it, it is going to be a topic on a later Xbox Factor show. But we know that they're working on Hellblade. We know that they're working on Project Mara, which looks amazing. Though it's Obsidian's new unannounced AAA Skyrim Like RPG that is literally the talk of the town and one that is expected to show up at next month's event for July. And you know what? We just had, and it just goes to show you that there's so much news and media going on. Our good friend on the panel, Luke, didn't even hear about this. He heard about it when we were talking. He says, please send that ASAP, which of course I immediately will. But what I want to do is I want to just change the view for a second, because not because I need to be center screen. I need to bring up the pictures. And what we're going to be talking about are the leaked artwork from Craig, my name, which is hilarious, Craig Manchette, lead character artist at Obsidian Entertainment. And we have a strong idea based on the information that was put out there that, in fact, it is going to be set in a Skyrim-esque kind of location and genre, and quite frankly, it looks glorious. So I want to bring up one of the first pieces that he posted online. Now, if you take a look on the screen, this is directly from the in-game engine, meaning the characters in said game that they're working on is in fact going to look like this. And I have to say that when I saw this, I was completely wowed, and it's pretty interesting because you have to sometimes. Phil is a very cryptic dude in the best way possible, and if you remember, and Luke and I were talking about this pre-game, the Larry Herb had an end of year show, and at that end of year show, usually he gets a good half an hour with Phil Spencer. And this particular, in the end of 2019, that show happened and Phil was on. And while they were conversing live on the podcast, Phil had made mention, hey, did you see what I just left Obsidian's offices and did you get a chance to see? He goes, oh yeah, I saw Grounded. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to play. He goes, no, not that one, the big one. And he was in fact referencing this particular title. Now again, it's an unannounced title. It's apparently going to show in a big way for July, because we know Obsidian is going to be there, and this is the game that they're going to show. But I want to bring the panel in on this, and I want to just circle to another picture. Zemi, you being a fan of Skyrim, I'm sure this excites you, but being a fan more so of Obsidian, knowing what they just pulled off with the Outer Worlds, which was an amazing, epic space romp, which is getting some free DLC later this year, and potentially Outer Worlds 2, because obviously it was a massive success, and it's going to be an exclusive for Xbox and PC. When you see this artwork, what does that do to your imagination on what they're working on? And again, I want to quote in a story that I pulled. I don't have it in front of me, but this particular project is the largest and most expensive project Obsidian has ever undertaken. And that's because they have the backing of Microsoft. And I think that's why we're going to get something absolutely incredible. Zemi, when I sent this into the DMs, what were your thoughts on the screenshots?
Well, I mean, my thoughts were like, wow, that looks amazing. And not this image in particular, but the other one that has the knight standing in his full armor. Like,
I'm gonna right here. Here we go.
Yeah, I immediately thought, like, that looks so good that could be in a museum. You know what I mean? And I just think it looks absolutely amazing and tremendous. And I really, really, really hope that is what we're going to get in the actual game. Like, I know that this is in engine, but just because it's in engine doesn't mean that it's going to look that good in the game. But I'm really hoping that the Series X is that good that this could actually be in the game, because these character models look absolutely mind blowing. And, we all knew that Obsidian was an, ultra talented team. For me personally, I would honestly put them on the same tier that I would put Bethesda. But the longest issue that this studio has unfortunately had is just been resources. They haven't had the money and stuff. And as amazing as the Outer Worlds was, and it was really a huge treat for me last year to play that. That was being made whenever they didn't have all of these resources. So just to imagine what this game's going to be like with the full backing of Microsoft just has me absolutely ecstatic, because I'm a huge fan of Obsidian. I haven't played all of their games, but I've played a lot of their games. And I just really love the studio. I love fantasy. I love RPGs. I love a lot of things, really. But those are two. They're very high up on the list. Fantasy and role playing games are very high up on that list. And I cannot wait to see more of this game and see what what Obsidian is doing with this. I really cannot wait for the July event. I hope that they do show this and not just more of Grounded. Grounded is cool. It's great. I'm actually more interested in Grounded now than I was before, but I really want to see this game.
Yeah, well, I believe that the Grounded is probably not going to be shown. This is. I mean, they could potentially be shown, but from what we understand, in July, it's supposed to be the secret AAA project they've been working on for quite a while, and I believe this is it, based on the information that I was able to acquire. Real quick, Y9 Power with the outstanding.
What if this is Fable?
No, you know what? I don't know, but that means
It's
Obsidian would be making it, and that would be ridiculous. And then you ask the question is, what is the initiative making? And now we're chasing our tail. But Y9 Power drops a very generous $2 super chat and says this: hey, Obsidian did do Fallout New Vegas, one of my personal favorite Fallout titles. But I want to bring in a fresh set of eyes on this. Luke, you got a chance for me to show this to you, and you of course were taken aback because of how amazing it looks. Here's another screenshot of one of the undead characters. Now when you saw this, you obviously were taken aback, but what are your expectations, knowing that not only is Phil Spencer ridiculously impressed with what he saw, but they have the full backing of Microsoft, and it has been spoken about even in private circles that this is the biggest, most expensive game Obsidian has ever made. Now that they have the backing, are you excited to see this Skyrim like title?
I dare you to say no. I dare you to say
Absolutely. Oh, jeez, no, absolutely. The idea Obsidian is talented. Beyond if with limited resources, they put out the Outer Worlds, and that is a fantastic game. For all things considered, it is one that showcases what they were able to do with limited budget, limited resources, but large scope and large ideas. So I am immensely excited to see what they're going to do with this. They deserve the budget because they have the talent. Now, what this game actually turns out to be is anyone's guess. Is this another like Skyrim style game? Really, joking aside, is this Halo? We've all heard Playground for years with very little true evidence, only conjecture, and conjecture based on screenshots or artwork that an artist put out or things like that. This could be that. We've said how many times on this show alone have we said Microsoft needs a God of War moment where they've reinvented something. Maybe this is Fable. There's a lot that you can, and maybe it's not, but there's so much you can let your mind wander to with excitement. And why not at this point? Those renders look incredible. We have no idea what the ceiling is going to truly be on these next gen things because it takes, throughout the generation to watch that tech evolve. And we always look at launch to now for the Xbox One and PS4. So there is no reason to think that this won't super impress. We have no reason to doubt Obsidian at this point. Switch port excluded. I'm all in and excited for what this could potentially be.
Yeah, I mean that makes two of us. I mean, obviously, I put a ridiculous amount, well over 100+ hours into the last the last Skyrim for sure. And sadly enough, I don't play the online one. And I'm so far behind in it that if I played now, I'd be lost. I am looking. I mean, obviously, we've all been disappointed with the Bethesda, right? I mean, they've rallied around Fallout, and I suppose it's been better. But obviously, their track record in the last couple of releases has not been good, and we're waiting for the the next Elder Scrolls 6 or Skyrim, whatever they're gonna call it. And I think personally that Obsidian could really strike while the iron is hot. If they can get this game out before the next Elder Scrolls, and it looks something similar to this, and we're playing, like you said, a reinvented wheel of that genre, it is going to potentially be the God of War moment that everyone that is a Microsoft and Xbox fan wants them to do. But I think that even when you're on the outside looking in, you want a reason to go buy an Xbox Series X or a Lockhart when they finally announce it. You're going to want to say, what game outside of Halo, outside of Gears, and outside of Forza is going to push me in the direction of buying a new Xbox. And this could potentially be not only the company, but the title to do so. And I am very excited to know more. And I'm really hoping, like Zemi said, that it's not Grounded that they show, because we don't listen out. Grounded is going to be a good game. There's going to be a subset of people that enjoy playing it, and it's going to go. But for that particular show, they need to go big.
Well, and the only reason why I say that is because, I think a lot of us have high hopes that they're going to show Fable, and I just don't know if they would show two fantasy RPGs in the same show.
I don't see why not. You know what? To be honest with you, I don't see why you wouldn't.
I think they can't afford to hold back.
Yes.
To be honest.
Yes, that's a great point, and I agree with Archimedes. I think that listen. They are on a tremendous upswing, and they have been doing it right. Now, some people, depending on who you ask, are going to consider the May 7th event as a step back. I personally do not. I think it was disappointed with no controller in the hand for Assassin's Creed. I hear you. I give it to you. No, I'll edge the bet your way, no problem. But if you're going to sit here and try to change my opinion on the fact that we got to see 12 other titles, all of which were new titles, and most of which were exclusives. And okay, you didn't get quote unquote gameplay, but you got a chance to see in-game running, or you got to see trails, however you want to put it. I walked away tremendously impressed and excited. And one of those titles is that oh my god, what's the name of it? The one that's supposed to be like Cyberpunk, the top down. The Ascent. The Ascent. Yeah, the Ascent is a launch title confirmed for the Series X. That's a big deal, and that game is a 4-player, unbelievable romp. And you know what? It's a smaller game, but it looks amazing. We've seen more gameplay on it, so there's a lot to be excited there. But in regards to this,
boom! I talked to.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
I talked to the developer Out of Blue Games for that game Call of the Sea. That was that very stylized exploration.
Yeah, it looks very
game.
Sea of Thieves-esque, if you will.
It does, and the director, was super high on the Xbox Series X and super excited for the slate that's kind of working with that group. So I was all in, and that I think that enhanced my appreciation for that Inside Xbox, because I waned. I went up and down, because the slate was so different, and with the Scorn and the Ascent and then Chorus and then Call of the Sea, like the mixed and matched types of games. So I was more hopeful after talking to her that Microsoft knows what they're doing, if that makes sense, to provide variety.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I think that when you have a service like Game Pass, I think that you have to cater. I don't want to use the word lightly, to your ever-growing audience. And right now, even though Microsoft hasn't officially said it, they have talked about 50% this, 50% of that. And again, I'm no mathematician, but I would definitely get on my soapbox and say that right now they're at 15 plus million subscriptions. And when you have 15 million people subscribed to your service, your Netflix of gaming service, you cannot have 90% dude bro shooters. You need everything in there. You need puzzlers, you need adventure games, you need thought-provoking games, you need artistic games, you need AA, AAA, and quadruple A games, as well as indies. And Microsoft, listen to me again, I understand you want the bangers. If you're one of the 320 people watching live, which I want to thank everybody for being here once again, and you want that God of War moment, I am fucking telling you, pardon my French, that you're going to get it in July. I have it on good authority from
How dare you curse? How dare you curse?
I know that's a shame of it. I have it on good authority from someone that I trust indubitably, that has assured me that this is going to be what we all want. And I honestly cannot wait. And you're going to get it. But with that said, let's not undercut how important it personally is to the brand, as well as what service they're trying to sell by offering you different types of games on every level of A. And I think it's super important. And you know something, I've been playing games in Game Pass that I would have never played if I didn't have Game Pass, because I wouldn't have given it a shot, because demos are a thing of the past, and I'm enjoying quite a lot of those games. So Archimedes, I want to bring you into the conversation, because Mr. Badbit, did we get your opinion on this yet or no?
Not yet, but you could go to Archimedes.
Okay, so I'll come back to you towards the end. Archimedes, obviously, when I bring up these pictures, and I want to keep scrolling through them because I'm tremendously impressed, especially with the armored. She looks like a royal guard, if you will. She could be someone that guards a princess or guards the king and queen. I don't know, but all I can tell you is that if that's what the in-game engine looks like, again, I'll say it. Sign me the F up. When you see these pictures, and again, this wasn't leaked. This was specifically put out there by Craig Manchette. And obviously he is the lead character artist for Obsidian Entertainment. What does that tell you, and how excited are you for the next Skyrim like quote unquote RPG they're making?
Yeah, I literally got goosebumps. I mean, I'm a huge high fantasy fan. Yeah, if I think about it, all my games of the generation are high fantasy games. This gen, it's definitely The Witcher 3. Last gen, it was Skyrim. So it's right up my alley. These kind of games. And you touched on it a little bit. This generation, Bethesda has fallen a little, short on the quality of their games. And not that Fallout 4 was a bad game, but it wasn't like the Fallouts that made the series great. So when Obsidian released The Outer Worlds last year, I was so surprised. It was the best Western RPG since The Witcher 3 that was released. It was just a fantastic game. And at some point you really saw when you played that game that they lacked of budget and possibilities for scope. This is going to change with the next game. This game is the reason why Microsoft bought Obsidian. And they are so talented, and these renders look incredible. The details in the characters. Look at the hair work. If you look at the other picture with the knight that has the helmet on, there are some feathers on there. These details. It is just, exactly this one. It looks just so amazingly, so detailed. And this is exactly the kind of moment that Microsoft needs in July to show these kind of games. And even if it's just a 1-minute teaser, let us know this is coming in 2 years, in 3 years. I don't care, but let us know that these epic games, because these characters, they scream epic game to me. It's not a 10-hour third person over the shoulder game. This is going to be a huge 100 hours plus games in a high fantasy setting, and let us know that these blockbusters are coming. I'm just so excited to see those renders. Incredible work. And like you said, and I've read it in the chat a few times, where do these come from? They are not some leaks or questionable 4chan forum posts. This was tweeted out by a lead character artist from Obsidian. So just amazing. I'm so hyped.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listen, it is exciting times for the Xbox fan base. Again, I want to just stress, I've been playing my Xbox like it's going out of style, my Xbox One X. And I've always had games to play. Now, whether it be first party, third party, indie, AAA, quadruple A, I've always found something to play on it, which is why I have almost a 300,000 gamer score. And I'm going to continue to enjoy my Xbox brand. But to be completely fair, when you look at how stagnated the AAA releases have been compared, because of course when you talk Microsoft, you got to talk Sony. That's just the way it works. And when you talk Sony, you got to bring up Microsoft. There is a subset of gamers, diehard gamers, that really want that wow God of War moment. And I like I said before, I really think we're going to get it in July. I think we're very surprised. And I think Microsoft knows how important it is, not just to sell the new console, but to prove to their fan base that, yes, you stuck it out and we heard your cries about AAA first-party bangers, single-player, epic stories that we have multiplayer that isn't tacked on, that's going to be thought-provoking and interesting to both sides of the aisle, and they're going to bring it. I really do. But you know what, Joe?
Boom, they owe it to their fans. Like
They
they
absolutely
owe it to them.
their fans.
Just as Sony owed it after the PS3. Like,
yes.
It's just, that's okay.
The PlayStation delegation has elected me to say we don't talk about that here. The conflict shall not be named.
Look, I got a second job to buy that system, man.
Yeah,
but Luke is right. Microsoft talked so much about them hearing the fans and bringing it out. It's really what they owe the fans right now. And I'm really hoping they are not holding back in July.
No, I don't think they're going to. Real quick, I have to thank somebody that didn't even leave a message. First of all, I think this is actually the first time I've seen him here, and if I missed you, I apologize. A big shout out and a huge thank you to Persian Knight, who drops an outstanding and extremely generous $20 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, my friend, and of course, welcome to the show. I hope that you are enjoying it. But you know what, Joe, I'm glad it worked out almost subconsciously that I saved you for last. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want you to keep your PlayStation hat on, not because you're going to be fired from the delegation, but because I'm going to come at this from a Sony's perspective. Okay. And one of the things that we saw Sony do very early on, and quite frankly, amazing, was selling hope. Telling the fan base that, yes, when you purchase a PlayStation 4, you're going to get Spider-Man. You're going to get God of War. You're going to get Detroit Become Human. You're going to get The Last of Us 2. You're getting whatever. Name your game in there. Whatever tickles your fancy.
Bloodborne.
And they sold people hope. People bought a PlayStation 4 3 years before Final Fantasy VII came out. People bought a PlayStation 4 4 years before God of War was out, and because they sold hope. In your opinion, besides the topic that we're talking about, and it's going to lead right into Obsidian's what we're showing on the screen here, this is a potential. This is an opportunity because of the clout and the reputation and respect that Obsidian gets as a developer, to go out there and put something up on the screen, even if it's a 60-second, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, something of this game. It sells hope. It gets people that were waiting for Skyrim or for Elder Scrolls 4 to come out and say, wait a second. F those guys. I like what I'm seeing. I'm going to buy an Xbox because I see this. And if Microsoft does, in fact, release a more inexpensive version that's $300, it's going to play this game just as good. It's just not going to have. It's not going to have the 4K 60 visuals or the 4K 120 visuals. It's going to have the 1440p visuals. And quite frankly, that's good. On those 2 points, first of all, how important do you think that this game to show at July is, and are you impressed with what you've seen?
So from the screenshots, if we could go back to the lady that's holding the bill,
I will bring that up right now. Here she is. There you
I'm
go.
She. Okay, so the thing that wows me the most is not the armor, it's not the cloth, it's not the shoulder pads, it's the hair. The hair is absolutely stunning. And it's something that I believe EA was talking about next generation. One of the biggest things that was going to be noticed on next gen was hair. Because oftentimes you get the spiky, unrealistic looking greasy ass hair. And this looks like there's individual strands. And you've seen that also in cinema as well. Them going towards this more realistic hair look. And that's the thing that wows me. And I think what we're dealing with here in terms of PlayStation, Xbox selling hope, Sony sold you a narrative, right? Everybody's selling you a story.
Yes.
And the story was last generation, at least the beginning of it, was PlayStation was by the gamers for the gamers.
Right.
And they showed you a slate of games that proved that narrative right. Where in the beginning of the Xbox narrative, it was about TV, it was about, it was about sports. It was almost unrelatable, to be honest, right? Or it was.
It was. It was.
And so what we're dealing with, I don't think Microsoft looks necessarily at PlayStation going, oh man, we need to sell people hope. They're saying to themselves, and I'm being as Aretha Franklin as I can here, our IP are stale. Halo, Gears, Forza, that's what we got. We need to branch out. We need to do something different, right? We need to sell Game Pass, and that means we have to be broad with the strokes that we're taking in order to sell people on Game Pass, because not everybody is into Halo. Not everybody is into Gears of War, right? As much as I am. I'm a huge Gears of War fan. Again, we just replayed the Halo trilogy, saga. So to me,
Hellblade's looking like it's going that path.
And yeah, and so to me, that's what Microsoft, I think, is doing, is like, okay, so here's the narrative we need. And it is games, games, games. And to me, the biggest thing is Obsidian. The biggest thing to me is In Exile, right? Like like someone said it before, Obsidian made their favorite Fallout because, like oftentimes people look at, Fallout New Vegas as the best Fallout game. That it shows you what Microsoft is trying to do is give you a new slate to look forward to. It's kind of like what PlayStation did this generation by offering you reboots or even just new IP to get you excited. Now what they're going to try to do is sell you on sequels. So Microsoft's idea is similar to PlayStation's of, let's do something different. We know we have, for the most part, again, Obsidian to me is the biggest get. We bought a whole lot of teams, a whole lot of studios. Their mission is to have, for each one of these studios, I would assume, these big tentpole titles, and then their second party teams cranking out smaller, maybe even AA experiences, so that you're always experiencing something and it's not as stagnant as it was back in the Xbox One times, right?
Yes.
They want you to play a game every single quarter. And I think I said that last show.
You did.
This is the thing that kind of proves that there's gonna be something different for you. Like, for example, we had Tiger King in April, right? Now for Netflix, and now in July 4th we'll have Stranger Things. They'll have Mindhunters in September. They'll have different shows that would appeal to a broad base, but also for different audiences as well. And that's what Microsoft's trying to do here. My one critique for this game is I would like it to be more of a grounded fantasy title. Not so much like I like looking at the armor.
You mean realistic, right? Like not like the game grounded.
Yeah, no, not like the game grounded. More realistic. Like I don't want to see dragons or griffins or some shit. Like the armor that we're looking at seems again based on like real stuff. Like you go to that guy, he's obviously insert knight here. You see the lady, she's obviously like a French polearm person, and then you look at like the Viking undead person. Like it's cool to have those vague fantasy elements, but I would love to see one that again doesn't lean too heavily into like Elder Scrolls. It tries to be its own thing. But
because it's Obsidian, I would believe that they're not trying to make the next Skyrim. They're going to do their own brand.
Absolutely.
But with that said, we have seen in the past that when Obsidian makes a game, there are some there's jokes, there's levity, there's humor behind the tale that you saw that in New Vegas, right, with the wacky people you met, right? You've even seen it in Knights of the Old Republic too. You know what I'm saying? With how they did that, which was in another amazing title, and of course you saw that kind of that nonsensical kind of sense of humor all over the place in the Outer Worlds. Maybe they're going for a serious tone here.
I think Outer Worlds would be the game that gives you levity, and then this is the more serious tone.
Yes,
kind of similar to the Bethesda studio structure of we're giving you a Fallout game, then we're going to give you an Elder Scrolls game. Fallout, Elder Scrolls. Now we got Starfield. We'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think everyone had fantastic points. To be honest with you, I'm very happy with. I was able to pull up all of these pictures because obviously, again, I'm not trying to be, funny. But pictures are worth 1,000 words, and this one really did bring up something exciting, or at least something to get excited about. I have to catch up on a few of the super chats, but let me do that before we move on to the next topic. And let me just get to, of course, my private chat, because Zemi is always taking care of me and making sure I don't miss anybody. So I definitely appreciate that, Zemi, for the help. Symphonic X Initiative drops an outstanding, very generous $2 super chat and actually asks quite an interesting question, and we might just touch on that. I'll get everyone's answer from the panel because I think it's a relevant question. Did Microsoft bait Sony into showing everything on tonight's stream? Joe, I'll start with you. What's your answer to that question?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, simple no. They already stated that they have a structure similar to Microsoft's where they're going to show you stuff more frequently. It's also stated that they have a state of play on hold. The placeholder date is at the end of August. Again, they're both waiting for each other to pull the trigger. So on price. So no, they didn't show everything at once. No one's baiting each other into showing anything. It's a very strategic move. Both of them are doing, not because one's doing something or the other. Yeah.
I think COVID is the thing that changed the schedules.
Yeah,
I think that's what changed schedules, not necessarily playing chicken.
Okay, so that's your answer to this question, Luke. You think it's more instead of it being a strategic thing, that it just was a circumstance?
I think there is strategy involved. Sure, that is going to happen with perhaps the structuring and delivery and timing of news. For example, if they had let's say, remember Battlefield Hardline, where you play as a cop?
Yeah.
That's not something that you would talk about right now. You would not showcase that right now. So I think circumstances in that respect might be changing things if there were games or whatnot that were relevant to certain things or irrelevant. I think there's timings involved with schedules and manufacturing, but Microsoft pushing Sony to do something, Sony pushing Microsoft to do something, I think that does exist. I do not think it's to the level that we sometimes might think it is, because they are far more informed about everything than we are. They know their own catalog, what they have. And I think circumstances change things, because Sony, remember, had dipped out of E3 and said they were going to do over 100 events.
Right.
There's a lot going on in there. We saw that I would say a travesty of a GDC showcase that was really cool, but not at all interesting, super boring. And wasn't meant for us. There's
not to mention the fake cutout people were not good. That was
that was a little definitely
weird. One of them picked their nose.
Yeah, right. Okay, that wasn't just me. All right.
No, yeah, it wasn't just you. No.
And of course, during that particular very, very awkward presentation, we had the church lady basically tell us to send us our ears, which was a little weird. Just want to throw that out there. But you know what? Great point. You like that? I'm old school Saturday Night Live. I love the church lady. Semi Games. To answer this question, do you agree with people? Everyone on the panel, do you have your own point of view? Was Sony baited, quote unquote, into showing their big presentation that we're all expecting for tonight?
I mean, I think Sony's definitely had a lot of pressure put on them from Microsoft showing everything that they've already shown. So I definitely think that, Microsoft has been in a way putting a lot of pressure on Sony. And then we know that, at least I think it was rumored, right, that Xbox was supposed to have a show in June that got pushed back. Well, if PlayStation did announce some certain big things like price or something like that, I would not be shocked in the least bit if it came out that Microsoft had a show here in a week. And they showed exactly the same thing. And so from that point of view, I'm not going to necessarily say that Microsoft pushed back their day to, like the June show to August. to get Sony to come out and feel more comfortable about showing what they had. I'm not going to say that, but it would not shock me if that was the case, if that makes any sense.
No, okay, it makes perfect sense. And Archimedes, close out this little, I guess, subtopic, if you will, thanks to, of course, the question. Do you think that Microsoft has pushed Sony into a direction that they may or may not have wanted to go into?
Partly. I think what Microsoft definitely did is that they forced Sony to take notes and watch Microsoft closer than they probably would have in the beginning. Because Microsoft has been extremely aggressive in their marketing and in their wording. And like I said in the beginning in the show, it is at the moment it's back and forth. So I don't think they will show everything tonight. Yeah, Sony will hold something back. They want to have that counter event in August to the July event from Microsoft.
Yeah.
So of course it's so Sony definitely now has to think a little bit more. When do we show what? Which announcement do we maybe hold back to have something to get the mind share in the news back when Microsoft announces something? And
maybe, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean that's a smart way to look at it. Real quick, Philly Eagle, a good friend of the show, very generous friend of the show, and very opinionated, which I love about having him in the chat. He says, for everyone here, instead of trying to justify your preferences, how about simply discussing your views with open-minded people? You don't need to justify your gaming preferences to anyone. It's toxic. And you know what? I would agree. I don't think you need to. First of all, this is a chat where everyone is welcome. And that goes for every flag that you fly, every race, creed, color, sexual preference, religion. Everyone is welcomed in my home. That is how I am as a just a basic human being and a podcaster. Everyone here is welcome. And for the most part, I would have to say the high 99%, we don't really get toxic a-holes here. And they stay away. That's because we have amazing moderators, like, of course, the Indie Gamer and, of course, the Sheriff. You know him as Lethal Papa and several others. And you know what? Real quick, a shout out to someone you might see in the chat from time to time. Someone that is recovering from a stroke. Someone that I think needs a proper shout out is UK Dazarus. If you don't know who he is, shame on you. He obviously used to run the Dazcast. He is currently recovering from a serious stroke that he had, and he's rehabbing. And he thanks to Wilmy Hood, he got his hands on the adaptive controller, which is helping him because obviously one of his hands, I believe it's his right hand, isn't as strong, and he still has a little bit of loss of motion. So we want to wish Daz a very speedy recovery because obviously he's definitely has been a modder on my channel for since I started, and of course he is definitely one of the community's finest. So of course, Daz, if you're listening, my brother, we do wish you well. But I want to move on to the next topic. You know what? We're talking Xbox, so I think it's almost ridiculous if we don't talk about Halo. Now, obviously, if there's one title that stands out and has extremely high expectations, it's 343 Industries' Halo Infinite. And from what we know about the project, it will be sporting the $500 million investment in this new Slipspace engine. Right? We're going to be seeing that. That's going to be at the July event in a big way. And I think we're all going to be ridiculously happy when we see this game running. As great as I'm expecting Halo Infinite to be, though, it's not the crux of this particular topic, or it was supposed to be the opening topic before we went crazy in the pregame. In fact, the article that I pulled from Tech Radar, we have confirmation that there is another Halo project currently in active development. Now, they don't specifically say how far into development it is, but we do know that 343 Industries is looking for a senior producer, and I pulled this next batch of information directly from Microsoft's career website, and this is what it had to say. 343 Industries is looking for a senior producer to work on our core services team to help develop a new project in the Halo universe. This is your chance to work with one of the most exciting, creative, intellectual properties in the industry and one of the industry's most talented teams. Now, this is just some of the other things that I pulled, and I want to just kind of just throw it out there so we know exactly how big of a position this is going to be. Obviously, it was long, so I cut it down for podcasting purposes. One of the major responsibilities is this: as a senior producer in 343 Industries, you will work directly with the lead producer, core services leads, and project leads to establish and maintain the vision, scope, schedule, budget, and resource plan for the new title. Qualifications: experience shipping games. You have to have 5+ years relevant experience in games development, doing senior level work, and 8+ years in the games industry. You must have one AAA title in production or related role, and or manage multiple features and teams through a 2+ product life cycle. And it continues with experience creating team progress. You should have advanced experience developing and running project management processes for a games team. You have built detailed work back schedules, managing multiple dependencies across different disciplines. Now, look, I'm going to say this before we get into the chat and the panel. This is very exciting on a ridiculous amount of levels. And considering that Halo Infinite will be released this year, that is saying a lot about what 343 or how 343 Industries is treating the long-running franchise. In fact, knowing that there's a second project lends itself to speculation that there will be potentially a Halo story that may not involve Master Chief. Now, again, Master Chief is going to be in Halo Infinite in a big way. But here is where my mind starts to play a little crazy, and I want to get the panel and more specifically the chat. I want to hear what your thoughts on this second project. Now, obviously, we're all excited that we know that Halo Infinite's coming. I'm even more excited now knowing that a second project is in active development in some form or fashion. But here's my question to our panel of professionals. Could you imagine if this next game isn't with the Master Chief and is some sort of a sequel, prequel, retelling, or different side story concerning the ODSTs? And I think that to see that particular franchise come back in a big way, having Master Chief potentially meet said new character in Infinite gives me goosebumps live on the air. And I'm going to start with Zemi. Zemi, when I sent this as the lead story, what were your thoughts? And again, folks, this isn't an assumption. This isn't a rumor that I heard in a back stall somewhere. This is confirmed information that a second project is in the works. Zemi, what are your thoughts?
Well, whenever you first sent this story to me, I was definitely very, very excited, and I just started thinking about all the different possibilities of what this could be, and I finally laid on what I would really, really want to see. But I'm definitely very, very excited to hear this news. We don't get enough Halo, if you ask me.
I agree.
And your idea of like a Halo ODST, I think that's awesome, and that very well might be what we're looking at, because it was just recently announced by 343 that they're coming out with Firefight for the Master Chief Collection,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. So obviously 343 still has they understand that ODST is definitely heavy on a lot of people's minds, and it's definitely a fan favorite for a lot of people. So they definitely might choose to go that route and have another ODST game. And I think Bad Bit actually said once before on a previous show, or it might have been Luke, that having like an ODST game or like a game where you're playing as Marines fighting against the Flood and kind of like a horror-esque kind of vibe, so I think that would be absolutely cool.
You said horror in the same sentence. I'm proud of you, Zemi.
Yeah, I didn't say I was going to play it though. This new project also, it might be something related to Halo Wars, because, we haven't seen really that much about Halo Wars in quite some time.
But that wouldn't come from 343, would it?
Didn't they develop it, or I might be
They've
mistaken?
outsourced for that. That was Ensemble and Creative Assembly.
Got you. But another idea that I also kind of got was, and it's completely different. Was they might be doing a takeoff of what Coalition did with Gears Tactics and implementing a game like that. But
Oh yeah.
what I would really want to see, like, this is like all of my hopes and dreams just being thrown into the abyss that's never going to probably happen, is I think it would be amazing if they had a strong narrative game where you played as an Oni agent during the game starts at the very beginning of well, it's not really the very beginning, but it starts whenever like the insurrectionists are fighting and all the human versus human rebellions take place, and then maybe the game ends with the discovery of the Covenant. I just think that would be really cool to get like a behind scene action.
Love it.
You could also implement some Splinter Cell mechanics, some stealth mechanics or something, playing as an Oni agent, sneaking through a rebel base or something. I don't know. I think that would be absolutely amazing. You maybe even you go to Reach and you look at the Spartan program. Maybe you see John 117 whenever he's a little kid or something. I don't know. Maybe you're the person that goes to John's house late at night, the Master Chief's house late at night whenever he's a kid, and you kidnap him.
Oh God!
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's what happened. Just to be clear, that is what happened.
That's exactly what happened. If you read the books, and there's no bigger fan than Luke right here. And Luke, I have a question for you that may put a pillow. So just in case you fall off the chair with this question I have lined up for you.
I'm ready.
Okay, so Zemi, continue your point.
Well, I was pretty much towards the end, but I mean that's what actually happened in Halo lore, and so many players don't know about that really crucial moment that really impacts like the Master. Well, I don't know if it really impacts them. It doesn't really look like it does, but as it's just character building, and I think that's really important, especially with such a long running franchise as Halo. There's so much lore, a lot of lore for a lot of the gamers hasn't been delved into, and I would love a prequel like that. I would absolutely fall in love with that.
I think they should sign you up in the writing team and the creative design team, because I love what you're pitching. So real quick, Gamer by Choice actually drops an outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. Hey, Gamer, thank you for being here. Super appreciate the support. He said, I would love an Xbox exclusive GTA style game. As a matter of fact, we talked about that. And the gentleman that left Rockstar, what the hell, Dan, yes, Dan. Thank you, sir, for the save. Dan Hauser is currently sipping Mai Tais and lying on very large stacks of money. But because he's a creator, because he is someone that enjoys creating and has been a part of this the design community for what seems like years, it would be only a matter of time before he wants to get back into gaming. You know what I say you do? Phil Spencer, if you're listening to this show, and I know that you're not, but if you are, thank you, sir. That means a lot to me, because I know he listens to RDX, and who doesn't listen to RDX? Because quite frankly, those guys are amazing. But I would go to Dan Hauser's house, mansion, castle, wherever, floating in the sky, bring a blank check and say, Dan, we're going to give you a studio we're going to create, and we want you to create the next GTA style game from Microsoft as an exclusive. And I guarantee you, with the combination of zeros attached to said check and the fact that he is a creative mind that is probably doesn't want to rest on his laurels or past work, also more importantly wanting to and this is my word, spat in the face of Take-Two, who seemed as if they forced him out with what their ideologies they wanted to push. It would be his sort of revenge towards that company, and it would be great for Xbox gamers to get an original GTA style game. Yes, please.
In a way, Microsoft already has a GTA style game with Crackdown.
They do, which I'm playing right now, thanks to
Yeah.
Luke, and I am addicted once again because I'm not playing. You know what? That again, I don't want to bring this into another conversation, but that's a great point. And you know what?
But they don't have one where you're being the criminal running around doing awful things to other people.
Yes,
So,
and you know what?
there is
I
that.
do hope we do. I do hope we get a crackdown for. I don't know if we're gonna get it, but I really hope. But Luke, here's my question. Here's get ready to fall off your chair. Oh, you know what? Let me get to the next super chat that came in right after. I don't want to forget because I get really upset when I do forget them. Okay, there's actually two. Michelle Alexandria drops an outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you for being here. Love that you're in the panel each and every time I do a show. I certainly appreciate the support. And a good friend of the show, Crazy Made Gaming, shows his generosity with an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: who does everyone think the announcement that mod support is coming to Microsoft Store on PC? I mean, I think that's coming. I think that's it's a big topic, and I think that's going to be happening much sooner than later. But here we go, Luke.
I'm ready.
Okay, we know that we are getting a new Halo game in the form of Infinite. We know that Master Chief is going to be the star of the show, which he deserves to be. We know it's going to be a first-person, semi-open world, search for side missions kind of a thing like we saw in Gears. A lot of people don't like that, but you know what? I'm sorry to tell you, I do. I want more than just corridor shooting. Here's my question. This, in my opinion, this next project is not going to involve Master Chief. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be completely removed from the Master Chief, and we don't need it not to be, simply because we have Infinite. This isn't a new Halo title without Master Chief. This is a side mission project. This is a side story. Is it time? Okay, get ready. Is it now? This is where people. I'm going to get booed for this, and I don't care. Is it time for Halo to move into third-person perspective, over the shoulder, very similar to a lot of the games I love on Sony, but through a Halo story, something similar to what Zemi was saying, talking about maybe, Sergeant Johnson that someone mentioned in the chat. Maybe we're talking about the Oni, operatives. Could and should the next Halo be not a corridor shooter, not a first-person game, but to be something different, something that we've never experienced before, because we are getting new and we are getting our Master Chief in Halo Infinite.
100% yes. That is what they should do. And to remind anybody that's pouting in chat, first pull up your pants and let's handle this. Okay, big boy pants on, let's handle this. If you've got Halo Infinite and you are going a new route with a Halo game, that is going to enter third person, that's not a mainline. You don't run the risk of damaging and tarnishing your mainline games. Halo 5 damaged and tarnished your mainline games. Halo Wars could have bombed something serious and it wouldn't have tarnished Halo mainline games, right? So absolutely you should explore any and all realms to bring the Halo verse to more people. We have seen Sony use third person games to their heart's content, and it be just incredibly effective. I mean, you got Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us, all just kind of off the top of my head. Days Gone to a certain extent as well. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? The idea of going around as an Oni agent, sure, fantastic, great idea. There's so much to explore in that Halo world beyond the corridor shooting. And there is no reason to say, when you've got a brand like Halo, there's no reason to say that you can't do that and still have your mainline corridor shooting titles.
Right.
Halo means a lot of things to different people. To some people, it's an entirely multiplayer event. To others, it's all about the campaign. To some people, it's a strategy game in Halo Wars. And there's a lot of us that blend and go in between all of those things. I would have expected after Halo 5 for them to take a step back in the Halo verse outside of games as well, but they didn't. They continued with comic books. They continued with novels. They continued with expanded lore and discussing things with Halo Wars 2 as well. And they're continuing. They doubled down on the story that they are crafting. They might have changed its direction, but they didn't back off the world. They didn't reboot it as I was expecting them to do. So everything that's happened thus far is canon, and they're continuing to expand on it. Explore the world of Oni. The books do a great job of exploring the world of human and human relations post-Covenant War and bringing a lot of that Star Wars-esque relationship. When you look at the Star Wars verse right now, you've got Solo, you've got the Mandalorian, you've got the Clone Wars, you've got Rebels. Those all exist outside of the saga.
Yes, great point, dude. That is a magnificent point.
And I think there's a great way to explore Halo beyond corridor shooting. And I would love to see, in the books, there's a group called Ferret Team. I would love to see that they work kind of in that shady realm of jack of all trades type people. ODSTs are a good but known quantity. I mean, every time I pick up a weapon in third person during a Halo game, I think it looks cool. Seeing that armor is just dope.
Yes.
Seeing all the stuff, it's just cool.
It is.
And the flying in Halo games, not just in Reach, but in Halo 5. Halo 4 and 5 both had flying missions.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Let me see it. Like, I like those things. Explore more. Give me that.
Yeah.
And whether this is Fireteam Raven, whatever this is, I hope it is well received and well cared for. And if they're investing as much money as they are into Slipspace and into the brand, everything rides on Infinite. I will not mince words on that. Everything rides on Infinite. It just does. But man, I'm excited. Cool.
I mean, listen, I agree with you. I think that, again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I would not personally. That's actually not true, because you know what? Why I do so much live content is because not because I'm looking for super chats or because I just want to be a ham and be in front of the microphone. I actually truly enjoy the pressure of that comes with doing a live show. It's probably because of my past career. And I'm not an adrenaline junkie by any stretch of the truth, but I ran into danger to help others on a regular basis, because that's what I swore in to do in 1994. I swore to protect the people. So, with that said, coming with that comes sometimes you get hurt. Sometimes you get killed. Thankfully, I never got hurt too bad, and I'm still here, so I made it. But getting in front of the mic, there is a pressure that I enjoy of having to put on a good show for the near 400 people that are here listening right now. And even though I think the pressure for 343 must be so immense, the weight on their shoulders has to be leveraging the world's weight on their shoulders to get this right. But I think that because they're a talented team, because they have so much to prove, and because they're doing so many amazing things with this new engine that allows them to do these things, it is going to be a much better, a much confident experience with Halo Infinite. And I'm expecting big things. Real quick, I just want to catch up on a few of the super chats that came in. First of all, I cannot forget a good friend of the show, Kirby Zero Louise, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "What if Halo Fireteam Raven 2?" Look, I don't know if we're going to get Fireteam Raven 1. I don't know how they would do that with the controller. I would love to see them do it. I don't think they will. But there is a story to be told with Fireteam Raven. There's no doubt about that. Black Eye Dog, the good friend of the show, drops a $5 super chat, actually a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much for that, dude. Super appreciate the support. And actually, two others just came in. I do not want to forget them. Eagles fan 76, another very generous friend of the show, drops a $2 super chat and says this: "Please, a third person," and this is great. No one talked about this, and I want to applaud this. And I'm going to take this over to Archimedes, this particular question, and of course, then answer the question however you see fit. Eagles fan, he drops a $2 super chat and asks this: "Please, a third person Arbiter or Alien storyline." Now, Archimedes, with this second game that they're working on, I think it's exciting. It's exciting to know that Halo isn't going to end after Infinite, that they have other plans for the franchise, and to know that they're already working on a potential second project that's going to release in the next 2 or 3 years, regardless of its, how big. Of course, it depends on how big the title is going to be. Answering this question, and of course, getting your excitement on the announcement, would it be pretty amazing to get a side story that was with the Arbiter or potentially with the Covenant, going at it from a different perspective?
Oh, definitely, especially with the Arbiter. I always thought this is a storyline that should be explored more in detail. Yeah, so that would be great. And so where do I start? Luke had so many great points, and he's obviously he's obviously the Halo guy for the whole universe.
Fake fan. He doesn't even know. He doesn't know Halo. He doesn't know Halo more than me. All right.
That's such a little brother thing to say.
But I think there are two things. First, I think I must play a little bit the downer here, because this job listing, it already got confirmed, is already occupied, and it was for Halo Infinite. However, the wording was so weird. There is definitely a second game in development at 343, but I think that is Halo Infinite 2 or whatever it is called. Yeah, because Microsoft has not made the investment in this slipspace engine for $500 million to just put out one game next gen. They will be going back to the original release schedule of Bungie, and so we will probably, or hopefully, get every three years a main entry in the Halo series from 343. So if they do a spin-off, I think it won't come from 343. They will do the same thing like they did with Halo Wars. They will source it out, and 343 will supporting them. But I think it is absolutely time that they do that. And outside of the real-time strategy genre, I think the Halo Wars games were great. This is not what I'm saying, but it is not the genre that does the universe justice, because it is such a fantastic universe that they have crafted. And even a first-person shooter is typically not the genre to put out the bombastic story moments. Yeah, and I think Halo is one of the shooters that has the best possible story, but the whole universe, the Halo universe, is so rich. It is time for us to get a Mass Effect like Halo game, a story narrative driven game where we get to become another character in the Halo universe, travel to different planets, different Halo rings. There are so many factions in the Halo universe you can discover, talk to, explore. This is actually what I am waiting for a long time. Yeah, because
I'm getting faint. Oh, I'm so excited right now.
Yeah, it is really. If you read the books, if you get into the lore of Halo, this is such a fantastic thing to do, and they should really expand on that. And I think they will. I guess, again, my point being, you don't put $500 million in the development of one single game. And even if you put out a sequel, a Halo Infinite 2, this is still, the investment is so huge. You have to have plans to expand that. And whether they outsource it to a complete third-party studio, like they did with Halo Wars, or if they give another another studio of the Xbox game studios a shot at the Halo universe, doing something in that universe, I don't know, but it's something I think they should definitely do.
Look, I want to say this, and again, this is one of those instances that, in my mind, I didn't think saving Joe for the last point of the topic was important. But now, thinking about my question, I believe it is. Joe, listen, you and I are both of the same mindset that for what a lot of people dislike Sony for, you and I will happily agree that they do the over-the-shoulder third-person perspective genre probably the best of the best. Now, I'm not saying that Hellblade 2 isn't going to do it better. I'm not saying that if any of the games that Microsoft is working on are going to be, like, for instance, the Perfect Dark is going to be third-person over-the-shoulder, and it's going to be amazing, right?
Yep.
But what you and I love about Sony is that they're not afraid to take a chance and do something different. And what I'm interested to know is your personal opinion on this next Halo project, because I believe that they are working on a second project. Okay, I understand that what Boxer Bear said about it being that this was already filled, but again, I pulled that and there was an up.
That's what a fake fan would say. A fake fan would say this second project doesn't exist. Okay, a fake fan that doesn't know the lore more than me would say crazy things like that. All right.
Well, I mean, again, keeping on point, Mr. Joe. Is it time? Again, going back to, as Halo fans, we are getting the Master Chief story that we want in Infinite. So Master Chief is going to be well represented. He's not being put off to the side as he was in Halo 5, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting the new Halo. We're getting the slip space engine. We're getting Infinite. We're getting an open world. We're getting, to be able to search. We're going to, again, based on several leaks, to play other characters throughout the universe. Is it time for 343 to potentially do something slightly different in, of course, what Boxer Bear was saying, this very amazing universe in Halo that we haven't really, I mean, you only peek behind the curtain if you read the books or the comics. We have in the gaming, there's only so much lore that they've been able to put out there. This could be a great way to tell Halo from a different perspective, more specifically from the third person perspective, because we know they did Halo Wars 1 and 2, so we got the RTS. We know we got Halo 1 through 5, we got ODST, we got Reach. So we have 7 games in the series in total that were corridor-based first-person shooters. This is a great opportunity, in my opinion. Some people are going to disagree with me, that this could be told in a whole different perspective, in a whole different way, in a whole different genre, potentially, not just a run and gun shooter. Do you want to see something like that come to the Halo universe?
Everyone close your eyes. All right, a real fan is speaking now.
I love it.
No, I'm teasing. So, okay. Here's what I would want. One thing kind of hits me in the eye holes here when I'm imagining what a Halo outside a first-person shooter would be. I'm going to take shooting out of the equation here, right? What if we have a Halo that's not a first-person or a third-person shooter? What if, close your eyes, what was one of the coolest things about Halo? What was it? I think it was 3, right? Where you're in the ship?
Yes.
Yeah. What if we have one where it's all aerial combat?
Oh, that's Reach.
Yeah. Oh, it's Reach. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Fake fan.
I mean, a real fan would forget what title did what. I just have so much knowledge because I'm a real fan. I forget things. It slips. Yeah. Reach. What if it's just aerial combat? What if it's more like, dude, how sick would this be? I'm just thinking
no, what you're saying is very interesting. I love it.
What if it's a Star, like kind of like a Star Fox game?
So you're saying basically a Star Fox or even like an Ace Combat type of game.
Yeah, marry those two games together. That would be freaking sick. That's something I would like to see, because oftentimes we see the Pelicans, because that's the name of the ship. I don't know if you guys know this, but we don't see them, in action, or we don't really get to use them much, or when we do, it's sparse. So I would love a game that's just focusing on, the aerial vehicle combat. Play with a new physics engine in the slip space engine.
Those ships that fight were longswords, not pelicans. Just throwing that out there.
Listen, fake fan, you got to talk. You got to say your piece. What if now? Okay, instead of that game, now I'm just throwing hypotheticals at you. We know that Mega Bloks game a while back. It looked awesome It looked
It really
genuinely
did. Yes.
cool. We know that Microsoft's partnering with Nerf. I believe they're also partnering with Lego now with Halo. What if they made a Lego Halo game? And like, because you have to Lego fire, I'm just thinking of like the limitations of that. And I think the limitations are the things that get me excited. Like the energy sword would have to be like a double-sided kind of lightsaber looking thing, and you're like crafting it together. Or like when you're shooting, you know, like an elite and he's dead on the ground, he's like acting like he's dead, but he's not really dead. Like he has one eye out and the tongue out, like is he gone type of thing. I think that would be really cool as well. Like just play around with this IP, because dude, like me and Luke are addicted to Halo Wars. It's awesome.
Yes.
It's awesome to see this franchise we love in a different light. I think Halo could live on in various different franchises without having to be tied down necessarily to gunplay. But at the end of the day, I really do think, you know, putting my real fan hat down for just a sec, that if there's a second producer and there's a second project, I don't think it necessarily means Halo Infinite 2, because I think they really want to make this a games as service game. They really want to, you know, long in the tail of this game and tell this story in a very you know, like I'm thinking like a Destiny like fashion, 10+ year type storyline. So I'm thinking that we're definitely going to see, though they deny it, I definitely think we're going to see a battle royale game in the future, and how that works, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a great point, and you know what, I you know, that's funny. That's what I love about doing the live shows, is you get a chance to really talk to other people that have great ideas. You know, we heard the alien perspective, the Covenant perspective. We're hearing now, hey, you know, what if it's not a first or third person at all? Wonder, because obviously, you know what you can equate that to is Star Wars, and that was a I believe Luke
before JJ ruined it. Oh
yes, well, you know, obviously he did what he did, and but we still have the Mandalorian.
It's a good movie. Mandalorian. All right, real sidebar, real fast. I'm so sorry. Mandalorian is literally what I always wanted as a kid realized, and that is amazing.
Force Unleashed was absolutely amazing.
Episode 3, Mandalorian, the very end. Holy crap. Like that's what when I was playing with my action figures, what I was doing, like zooming down with a whole bunch of Mandalorian, and they captured that in real life.
It did. It was pretty epic. You know, look, I'm going to say this has been a fantastic show. We were closing in on 2 hours, and you know what, I did have other topics, but they're just too large to work in. I am going to bring up something though, and I want to get people's opinion on this. I should have, as a host, brought this up when we talked about it earlier, but you know, there were reports, and I believe that we've talked about it briefly, regarding the June event being canceled, or even the July event was being announced as being canceled. And Aaron Greenberg came out there and he posted this, you know, obviously the story ran by VG 24/7. And it talked about how the July event or the Microsoft big event was moved into August. And real quick, you know, before I want to get to the super chats, and I'll get into my particular point. And let me just bring those up. Thank you, Zemi, for, of course, bringing those up. I don't want to forget anybody. Let's see. What do we need here? Pixelbit G drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, great stuff. And yes, we need the third-person Halo universe game, darker like ODST, such a compelling place. Imagine the visuals, slower and up close. Yes, I absolutely love that. Crazy Horse drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he actually, thanks to you, I just spent $80. Thanks there, Crazy Horse. He says the Razer Kishi is available for Android phones. That is the Xbox branded xCloud device. You put your phone in the middle of it. If you're interested, I don't have any pictures because this obviously just came up in a super chat, but I'm looking at it right now and it looks absolutely amazing.
It basically makes your phone look like a Nintendo Switch, right?
It makes your, yes, but it has the branded Xbox buttons in the colors. It basically makes your phone into an X-Boy, if you will. And I just spent $80 on that, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. And Star-Lord 14, a very generous friend of the show. Thank you for being here, Star-Lord. He says, hey, he drops an outstanding and overly generous $20 super chat and says, hey, Boom and panel, do you think 343 Industries and the Coalition should be allowed to branch to new IPs outside of Gears and Halo? They are so talented. Even Sony Studios have had the freedom to juggle more than one IP, and that is a fantastic point. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me just get rid of this, because the Aaron Greenberg thing, there's not much to talk about with that. It absolutely is what it is. I'll close out the show with that particular question, Star-Lord, and I'll start with Zemi. Listen, obviously 343 is Halo. And Halo is 343. And of course, Gears of War is the Coalition, and the Coalition is Gears of War. The question that this gentleman posted with his $20 super chat is a great question and a really good one to close out today's show. Do you think, because of the size of these teams, should they be allowed to branch out to another project outside of the universe that they are currently crafting?
That's for me, that's kind of a hard question, right? Because I want there to still be a Halo game that comes out as soon as possible, right? And I want those Halo games to be up to par and be the best that they can be, right? And so if 343 was making a ton of different other games, side games and stuff like that, maybe that quality wouldn't be with the Halo franchise, or maybe they would have to have a 3-year break from making Halo to do that. But at the same time, we're not the ones that are actually having to spend 3-4 years of our lives crafting a video game. And if I was that type of person, I would want to work on a project that I was passionate about. So absolutely, they should be allowed to change their focus and do other games if that's what they want. But I really like Halo, so I hope they definitely keep making those.
Okay, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Luke, I'll go to you next on this. I mean, do you agree or disagree that they should be allowed to potentially make something new?
They should absolutely be allowed to make something new. That does not mean they need to do it at the expense of the IP for which the studio was created. We have seen Microsoft's entire mindset shift in the past 2-3 years since they started acquiring studios, that they were going to be offering more freedom to those studios because it brings content to Game Pass and brings content to their platforms at a more steady cadence. And it also serves the creative visions and keeps people fresh in a studio where stagnation is pretty standard in the industry. And Mike Bithell even tweeted recently that the industry keeps making the same mistakes over and over again because they don't retain people. They lose and burn out developers so quickly that they continue to make the same mistakes. If allowing people to offer and have creative endeavors within a studio keeps them fresh and active and bringing new ideas and creative processes going, because you can't quantify art. If allowing them to do that keeps them fresh to bring us more Halo or better Gears or whatnot, that's a great thing to do. That doesn't mean you need to sacrifice what 343 was built for, what the Coalition was put together for. You don't need to do that. But if you allow them side projects that turn into your Grounded or your Bleeding Edge or whatnot, with hopefully some better successes or better receptions, there's no reason to think you can't get your Hellblade 2 out of that. There's no reason to think you can't get your Gears 6 when they have a side project going. So I'm all in favor of pushing and allowing creative talents to flourish. Just recognize that they were put there for that studio was built for a reason as you go. But Microsoft seems to be allowing that. And if it's giving us good content, why not? The proof will always be in the pudding and in the games. And they need to yield some of that proof. Again, everything rides on Infinite. If Infinite slams it out of the park, yeah, let anybody in there make whatever they want as long as Infinite's doing well. Sure.
Okay. I mean, that's a perfect point. And Archimedes, what are your thoughts on this particular aspect? Do you think that their creative geniuses, if you will, are being hampered by being locked down to Gears and Halo, or are they there because they want to make Gears and Halo games? Do you think that maybe, just maybe, they should potentially make a project outside of the universes that they're currently working on?
Oh, is it? may I answer that with another question? Is it ever a good idea to hold creative minds back?
No, of course not. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that is basically my answer, because of course Microsoft needs their key franchises. Yeah, they need a new Halo, they need a new Gears, and they need, of course, good people working on that. But that doesn't mean that you cannot work on another project. We have had that in other Xbox game studios. They are working on passion projects. Yeah. And I think this is really important for creative, especially for a creative team, yeah, that you don't limit them too much. And if someone within the coalition or within 343 or any of the other studios comes up with a great idea for a game, why shouldn't they be allowed to do it?
Okay, that's good. Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, again, it's you. Everyone made great points. And Joe, why don't you close out today's amazing 2-hour program with that? Do you feel that it potentially, based on the super chat question, should these studios be allowed, if of course they have a project that they're looking, and Microsoft seems to be a very accepting kind of a company, and I think they understand that it has to be more than the Trinity. It's got to be more than Gears. It's got to be more than Halo. It's got to be more than Forza. If one of these teams had an idea, do you think that Microsoft it behoove them to allow them to produce a new title outside of either Halo or Gears?
Simply put, yeah. I mean, like, it's so. The way I'm going to say this, I think, isn't the most eloquent way to say it. But if I'm a dev at like the Coalition, or Rumor Coalition is working on the Perfect Dark sequel, right? Correct?
Yeah, they're apparently helping. I'm not sure if they're working with, but I believe
either
that they're
co-developing or developing. If I'm a developer at 343, and then I'm like taking a look at like, oh, Playground's rumored making Fable. Oh, Coalition's working on Joanna Dark. Like, then going, oh, I'm on Halo, and not to say that it's a prestigious title. It's been around for decades at this point. But allowing a team to say, you know what, stretch your wings and see how you can fly, right? See where you go, see what you push, see what you want to stretch your creative muscles and do is always a healthy thing to do. And sometimes it's for your benefit. And I always take a look at, Sony is a good example to beat this drum, but like giving Naughty Dog the ability of going, okay, so like, do you want to make a Last of Us Part 2? And then going, yeah, let me see if I can find a story, rather than going, you're going to find a story here because this is an HBO show now, is what you kind of want. So like there's of course a balance to that. Like, you're going to make a game, for example, Guerrilla's going out there, they have Killzone. It doesn't really light the world on fire, but it does well enough. And then they're like, we're going to try to do an RPG that you're in the future and you're fighting robot dinosaurs with a bow and arrow. And then Sony's like, okay, let's talk about it. And then they go out and they make that game. So like you see it work. And then you also see it where a company like Santa Monica is just like, hey, we want to reinvent. After a new project falls through, they're like, how about we reinvent Kratos? What if we reinvent God of War and what that means in a 2018 setting, and then going out there and doing it. So to me, I think creative freedom is important because you don't want to have a consistent loop of the same thing over and over again, while at the same exact time you have to acknowledge that, like, yeah, Halo is this prestigious property. Like people working at Bungie, even Bungie, great example with Destiny, right? They've been making Destiny now for over 6+ years, and they're now also making other games on the side for, I believe, Tencent. So to me, I think being able to say, hey, let's kind of fluctuate between IPs is only good.
Yeah. Boom, you sounded like you disagreed. You sounded timid in there.
So are you suggesting fake fan?
And it sounded
no, I just
fake fan.
Your voice just sounded hesitant when you were asking us, and I'm wondering if you disagree. And I'm wondering why. If that's true, and if I was wrong, I'd be.
How dare you?
You know what? Listen, I'll say this. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. We had almost 400 people watching live, which is, again, I say it, and I'm not being facetious, folks. I don't even have 5,000 subs, and somehow or another, I'm averaging a percentage that is unfounded in YouTube. And what I mean by that is the amount of views I'm getting. I am over the moon grateful for it, and I'm getting 4,000+ views per show, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal when there are millions and millions of incredible content creators who are just as passionate on and are not toxic assholes that actually care about the craft. And right now you're listening to 4 of them right here live on the air for you. These are passionate gamers that create content on a daily basis, and they're all good at it. And of course, if you sub to me, it's almost like peanut butter and chocolate or pizza and pineapple. You gotta sub the other guys, and I hope that you do. So let's get into the outros, and I'll start with Zemi Games. Zemi Games, you obviously saw my pineapple pizza, which was the first I've actually ever eaten it. At least I remember eating it. I made a homemade version of it. Quite frankly, it was scrumptious. But getting to the outros, I want to thank you for all of your food pictures. And again, I think that you're missing the mark by not creating some sort of a Zemi Cooks kind of a thing you add to your channel, or creating a new channel. I think you'd get a lot of viewers because you'd make some really good looking things. But more importantly, you're an incredible community member and an incredible content creator. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for complimenting my food. Yeah, I mean, I love cooking. I really do want to create a cooking YouTube channel, but I just don't have the time or like the resources to really do it the way I'd want to, unfortunately. But maybe one day. But anyway, back on track. If you guys, like my opinions or anything like that, definitely make sure to check out my YouTube channel. It's called Zemi Games. I do a bunch of gaming content there, gaming news, reviews, tutorials, let's plays, all sorts of stuff. So definitely go check me out on YouTube. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zemi Games. And then once again, if you guys enjoyed what I was saying today, or maybe you didn't like it, always feel free to send me a DM. My DMs are always open. I always love interacting with the community and having those conversations. And then also I retweet and post the typical things that you would expect me to, but I also post a bunch of pictures of food creations I just made, and whenever I upload a new video, that goes up there as well. So definitely check me out on Twitter. And Boom, thank you so much, man.
Oh, no, my absolute pleasure to have you a part of today's program, but part of every program that you're on, especially when it comes to the Xbox Factor podcast. Next up, we're going to go to, of course, someone that I've come to really enjoy his content. His interviewing skills are up there. I would say you give Dan Rather a run for his money. That is obviously a big newscaster here in New York, and I really enjoy the big gets that you get, Luke, for your Xbox expansion pass. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can check out that amazing show, but more importantly, follow you on social media.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate the compliment, man. That's awesome. I host the Xbox Expansion Pass, and you can find that on all podcast services. The most recent episode features an interview with Tatiana Delgado, who founded her own studio to make Call of the Sea, which is coming to Xbox Series X. And she joined me from Madrid, Spain, to talk about that game,
Nice.
Which was really, really cool. And the episode prior to that was the art and story lead for Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So that was a really cool conversation as well. And every episode I try to just break down the Xbox relevant news in the ecosystem. You can find me on Twitter as well at Insipid Ghost, and it'd mean the world to me if you guys would check out the show and rate it on iTunes. I'm a couple away from 25, so I'd love to hit that.
Dude, well, listen, you're doing great, and I think that you have some serious skills. I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that you can hold the show on your own the way you do, that's tremendously impressive. I did a man-eater live video the other day. I had like 25 people show up. It wasn't a big deal. And talking for half an hour, dude, I got to be honest with you. It is difficult to do. So you hold your own very well. I know that you probably do multiple takes and you put it together, but it's still, when you're doing the interviews, you do a great job. Real quick, I have to thank Sparhawk for becoming a channel member. Oh man, that's super awesome of you. Thank you very much, dude, for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And listen, I don't talk about it. I hate to say this, I'm a very humble dude. I think everyone knows that about me. I am over the moon if someone gives me $20 or $1. The fact that you donate it all it's still very foreign to me because I expect nothing. But I get scolded a lot by a lot of people who say you got to push your channel membership because of the amount of content that I do. And I do a lot of content because I love creating it. I love writing. I found a skill that I did not know I enjoyed. And writing these shows, it has become, and I swear to God, folks, I'm not making this up, as important, even sometimes more important than playing games. I just love writing. I love creating this content. And if you are enjoying the content and you want to become a channel membership, all you got to do is hit the join button on my YouTube page. And it's $5 a month. And again, if it's something you want to do to support Double Barrel Gaming, it would be honestly, truly appreciated. But let's continue with the outros. And Archimedes, I know that it's late by you in Germany, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time from your family, and I really do mean that, to come hang out with us, because adding you to the DM, adding you to this program has been an honor, but it also has elevated this program's, I think, a level of how well we gel, and you bring a lot to the table, and your videos as of late have been fantastic and need more ears on. Just don't mail your ears to Germany because they're going to get lost in the mail. It's a long way from home. Do me a favor, Archimedes. Tell everyone where they can check out your incredible content on your YouTube channel. But more importantly, follow you on social media.
Oh, first of all, thank you, Boom. The honor is all mine. It is absolutely a highlight of my week to be on these shows. I'm really glad I can make it every week here to the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm always having a great time with you and the panel, Luke, Sammy, Mr. Badbit. It's just pure fun to be on the show and in the DMs. So thank you for that. Yeah, you can find my channel under Boxenberger. Yeah, I just uploaded my latest video yesterday, analyzing the compatibility discussion we have with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. So definitely check that out. And you can also find me at Twitter under Boxenberger. And if you want to add me on Xbox Live or PSN, it's always Boxenberger. So just search for that.
Well, again, thank you for being here. And last and no way least, someone that's going to be coming back this evening at 8 o'clock, if he's still alive, from two things. One, having a heart attack because Sony just killed him, and hopefully that doesn't happen. And two, he's up. Make sure you drink coffee because we need the energy that you bring on a regular basis to the PlayStation post-show reveal that we're doing tonight on Double Barrel Gaming's YouTube channel, which of course is mine, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joe, really, really, truly enjoy the comedic, way that you are with everybody on the panel. Really love what you do with the community. I think that you are definitely a gem that I'm very happy to have uncovered, looking for new talent to not only showcase, but to have on my shows on a regular basis. And I really love the way you represent the PlayStation brand, but at the same time can talk about other brands in a proper manner. You do it well. You do it the right way. Tell everyone where they can check out the Trophy Room on your outstanding YouTube channel, but more importantly, talk to you in the same Texas-esque voice on Twitter.
By God. Well, first and foremost, you can follow me at Badbit Games over there on YouTube. Mr. Badbit on the Twitters. PS Trophy Room, if you want to follow the Trophy Room podcast, that you can find also on YouTube, as well as iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your RSS feed, you can find a show there. Now, losing the accent, today's the day. It's been 1,906 days since the original Bloodborne, and now we are at the precipice that is the PlayStation 5 Reveal Event, which means that we're going to be streaming it. We're going to have a pre-show on Bad Big Games on YouTube. Please join me. I don't stream often. I get very nervous when I stream. I'm a bag of nerves. So 3:45 p.m. EST time, join me and my best friend Kyle as we react to the PS5 reveal, and then right afterwards we'll break the show down as we record the trophy room live on Bad Bit Games. And then later on tonight I hop over here. We're gonna talk about it again because I know I'll be running off adrenaline. So there you go. I'm pumped. Today's the day. I'm excited. It's a great game day to be a gamer. And there you go. That's all. That's my spiel.
Well, listen, it's, again, great to have you a part of the program. Cannot wait to do this again tonight. It's going to be very exciting. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the PlayStation 5 Reveal Event will be happening, or whether or not they show the PS5, whether we get a release date, whether we get a price. It's all up in the air, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to thank you for your continued support as we do each and every time I have one of these shows. I think that it's something that it's super important to me. It was super important to my dad, and I'll close out the show with something that I believe more people need to know than ever before. And the two things are that my father taught me when I was a kid is treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you tonight on the PlayStation 5 Reveal Event, a special edition show tonight on my channel at 8 p.m. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. Take care, everybody.